Hi, do you want to learn ethical hacking? Do you want to learn cybersecurity? Do you want to learn how to break into computer networks, mobile devices, wireless networks, and computer systems? I'm Kwesi Cyber, and on this channel, I'll teach you how to move from zero to a pro in cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Let's move on to my computer and I'll share with you some topics that we are going to treat.
These are what we will cover. So first, we will look at some essential cybersecurity terminologies, where we will cover very essential cybersecurity terminologies that every hacker or cybersecurity professional or information security professional should be familiar with. Terms like vulnerability, exploits, threats, etc., etc. Secondly, we will look at note keeping. As an ethical hacker, as a penetration tester, note keeping is very important part of your work. You have to make sure that you are keeping the right notes and make sure that your notes are well organized, because this is very vital. You wouldn't want to get a vulnerability or find a vulnerability and you later start scrambling around for your notes. Now, the next thing that we will learn to do is how to set up our pen test lab. Under normal circumstances, pen testing takes place on real life environments, but for the sake of this course, we are going to set up our lab, because no one wants you to be playing with their live servers or live network devices. So we'll set up our lab and I will teach you how to set up your lab in this circumstance. The next thing that we'll cover is the ethical hacker methodology. Hackers have a methodology, the way that we do things. We have a methodology and we have to learn how you go about the methodology that you follow as a hacker, from reconnaissance down to cleaning your tracks, or clearing your tracks. So I will take you through that. Now, the next thing that we also cover is where we are diving into the interesting part of the ethical hacking, interesting part of the course. That's where we start with the first stage of ethical hacking or penetration test, known as information gathering. And we have two types of information gathering. That's the passive and the active. So we start with the passive information gathering, where we learn how to gather information about our targets from open sources, open source, where we maybe from their website, from forums, from their social media platforms, etc., etc. We learn how to use different tools to gather that information. We also delve into information gathering. That's the active information gathering, where we are actually interacting with the organization network and even the organization human resources, where we go directly, we interact with the people through social engineering. We try to gather information about the organization or our target through social engineering, or we use scanning tools to actually scan the network that we are attacking to be able to gain necessary information from the network before we can attack. Now we move on to enumeration. And enumeration and scanning is more or less sometimes done together, but enumeration is gaining a deeper insight of the environment, of the target environment. What do they have? What do they have? What versions, what systems do they have in place? What kind of versions of those systems or platforms do they have in place? So researching deeper into whatever you find, where we do DNS enumeration, you do network enumeration, you do system enumeration, to know the kind of systems that you are even or you have in place and you are trying to attack. You have to gain deeper knowledge on these systems, and that's what we also cover. Another thing that we are going to cover is vulnerability scanning, where we try to use automated tools like Nessus and Nikto to try to scan the network or scan the devices of the web application for vulnerabilities or for weaknesses that we can exploit. We also learn about network penetration testing, where we start to break into a network or an organization's network. So we learn how to do that. That's one of the interesting things that we are going to learn. Another thing that we are going to learn is password cracking. I know this is very interesting and people would love to know how to crack passwords, to be able to break passwords. Sometimes you try to hack an organization or try to hack a system and you come into contact with passwords or hashes of passwords that have been encrypted or hashed, and you have to use multiple methods to be able to crack these passwords and gain access to the system. So we learn how to use different tools to crack this password, like Hashcat or John the Ripper, to be able to crack these passwords. We also learn how to exploit Okay, exploitation, the basics. We start with exploitation, where we try to exploit the vulnerabilities that we find in the network or in the systems that we are trying to attack. We try to exploit it, take advantage of those vulnerabilities and gain access into the system. We will learn how to do all those things. Now, one interesting thing that most ethical hacking you find in the real environment is antiviruses. Okay, either you find antiviruses, or you find firewalls, or you find web application firewalls as well, and you have to learn how to evade or dodge some of these things, because if there are firewalls in place, if there are antiviruses in place, trying to dump your hashes, or even trying to use these hacking tools to be able to gain access and cause damage will be prevented by these antiviruses. So you have to learn how to bypass some of these antiviruses to be able to achieve your goal on the systems. So we will learn how to evade or dodge these antiviruses that have been set up on the systems. Now, another thing that we have to learn is post-exploitation. That's after you finish hacking, after you've attacked the system, after you've done whatever you want to do, what are you supposed to do next? And this is a stage that many hackers forget. Even professional hackers, they forget this important stage, what to do at this important stage. That's where you try to cover your tracks so that you are not able to be traced. Okay, you cover your tracks so that you are not able to traced. You create backdoors so that you'll be able to enter the systems anytime that you want. Okay, you create backdoors, you cover your tracks, okay, and all these things, and you exfiltrate your data. That's you steal or send your data from that computer to wherever you want to copy that data to. Okay, you learn how to filtration of data. You also learn how to do covering of our tracks. We also learn about web application penetration testing, where we learn how to hack websites. Okay, and we learn multiple attacks, how to gain websites, attack websites. Okay, and do penetration testing on websites. We also learn web application enumeration, gain more insight and more knowledge of the web application that we are attacking. Okay, the kind of server versions the application are running on, the exploit available for those services, as well as also learning about servers and the web servers that are available in the environment, etc, etc. Now we will learn about a very important thing, OWASP top 10 web application vulnerabilities test. Now OWASP is an organization, okay, and this organization is an association, kind of a body, and every year they come up with top 10 vulnerabilities that exist in web applications every year. So it keeps changing. Now we will learn how to exploit these top 10 web application vulnerabilities as a penetration tester. Whenever you are trying to do a pen test on web applications, these top 10 vulnerabilities should be your focus. You test the web applications against any of these top 10 web applications, where you try SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication. We will learn about broken authorization. We will learn about all those things, logging and monitoring. We will learn about using vulnerable components, okay, etc, etc. We will learn about all of these things under this section. We also learn about wireless penetration testing, how to hack Wi-Fi, wireless networks. We try to do learn how to do all these things, how to get the password of wireless networks. I know many of you are actually interested in this, how to gain access to passwords, etc, etc, of wireless networks or Wi-Fi, how to break into a Wi-Fi network. Okay, now another thing very important in pen testing, documentation is very important. How to put your documentations together. What documentation do you even need as a pen tester that you submit, and how to even write a report, because after doing your test and everything, you have to write a report to the organization that gave you that contract. Okay, you have to write a report, a vulnerability assessment and penetration test report, a VAPT report to the organization. You have to submit a report to the organization, and you learn how to write this report. What should be in the report, what shouldn't be in the report, what are the components of that report, and other documentation like letter of engagement, as well as letter of authorization, because even as it stands, hacking is illegal. So before you can perform any hacking, you have to gain the authority or the authorization. They have to the permission from the organization or from the person that you are trying to hack. You have to gain an authorization or authorization. The authorization will serve as your legal paper in case so that they don't take you to court, okay? Because as I said, hacking is illegal, and that letter of authorization and engagement letter will prove that yeah, they gave you that permission to perform that kind of attack on their systems. So you learn how to write all these things, the kind of documentations you need even before you start testing, and the kind of documentation you need to submit after testing. You learn about these documents, and you also learn about how to write them so that you don't land yourself into trouble. Now these last two things are bonus topics. That's introduction to bug bounty hunting. Yes, ethical hacking can make you rich. Bug bounty programs, I will introduce some bug bounty programs to you where you can hack for free. Platforms where companies come and they say, oh, come on, hack us, and they pay you for hacking them, okay? And you submit a report and they pay you for hacking. I'll introduce you to some of these platforms where you can start applying your knowledge that you've gained from this course. You start putting them into real life practice. Now the last thing is career advice, where I advise you on how to start or land your first cybersecurity job as a pen tester or as an ethical hacker, and the kind of rabbit holes that you shouldn't enter, or the kind of things that you should avoid, what you should watch out for, how to progress your career in the field of cybersecurity. So interesting, these are the 20 things that we are going to cover in this channel. More interesting videos are coming up, and I hope you are going to enjoy it. Now this is very important. That's a disclaimer. So the disclaimer here is that, you know, as I said, we are going to share very sensitive tools that can break down a network, tools that can break down mobile devices, tools that can break down computer systems, okay? And as I stated earlier, hacking in itself is illegal, and we are going to use these tools to be able to break into systems, into web applications. Any information shared here is only for educational purposes. You don't need to go and start practicing it on a live website without the owner's permission, the owner of the website's permission. You don't go and start practicing these things on live servers or people's networks or organizations' networks without permission or prior permission from those organizations. And any action and or activities related to the material contained on this channel is solely your responsibility. Whatever you do with this is your responsibility. As I said, I'm going to teach you some things that are very sensitive. Now the misuse of this information in this presentation, you have to know, can result in criminal charges. Yes, they can prosecute you, brought against the persons in question. So if you try to misuse the information that I will share and the kind of knowledge that you gain, you try to misuse it, it can result in criminal charges against you.
If you are interested, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment below the topics that you want us to treat. See you in my next video. Thank you.